everyone, it's Rachel Russo, and I wanted to welcome you to Module 3. We are covering a very important topic this week, creating your personal brand. I personally love this topic, and I hope that you enjoy it just as much. What is a brand? We are going to talk about what a brand is and what a brand isn't. According to Wikipedia, personal branding is the process where people and their careers are marked as brands. The personal branding concept suggests that success comes from not self-improvement, but self-packaging. So a brand is all about how you package yourself and your business. Wikipedia says that a brand is further defined as the creation of an asset that pertains to a particular business or individual. It includes and is not limited to the body, the clothing, the appearance, and the knowledge within. A brand leads to an undeniable impression that is uniquely distinguishable. And according to Wikipedia, branding was a term that came up back in 1997. It seems like the topic is hot and branding is all over the place now, but it has actually been around since 1997. Personal branding is very important. So it involves applying your name, your business, your likeness to various services and perhaps products as well as a matchmaker. An example of a very well-known big brand, for instance, take Donald Trump. And he's well known in the real estate industry, of course, and he's a celebrity. But he does so much more. He has Trump steaks. Maybe people didn't even know that, but he has a brand of food, Trump steaks. And he also has a lot of real estate. He has buildings that are named after him, Trump Towers, all over the place. So he uses his name, and a lot of times brands use personal branding and their name, but businesses don't always have to use their name or their last name, and we're going to be talking a lot more about naming your business later on, but for now we're going to focus on what a brand is and isn't. So a brand is what people say when you're not in the room. It's never what you say, it's what they say about you. So you can learn a lot about your brand from listening to the feedback you get from others. A brand is something that is going to help you stand out from your competition in the matchmaking industry, both online and offline. It's something that's going to help people to find you. They're going to realize that you're the matchmaker for them because your branding attracts them. So branding is something that will lead your target market to you. It will lead you to the right clients that you prefer to work with if you have a strong brand and you brand yourself well. And that's what we're going to learn how to do. To brand yourself well within this matchmaking industry so you can work with the singles that you desire. How is a brand defined? Many, many ways. We will talk about the top two, which will be on your website to start with. Everyone has to have a website as a matchmaker. If you don't, no one's going to take your business seriously. So you're going to have this website, and your goal is to make it appeal to your target market and to represent your brand. You do this in two ways, through your copy and through your design. We'll talk about both, starting with the copy. It's very important to pay attention to the content on your website. Now, if you have a copywriter, because you're not a strong writer, you have to make sure that that copywriter really understands your tone, your voice, what you are trying to convey to your target market, and creates that content or copy that's going to sell to them, that's going to reel them in and make them want your brand above any other brand. You don't even want them to be searching for other matchmakers after they see your site, because your copy has to be so strong that they're like, this is the matchmaker for me. You're going to speak exclusively to them, and they'll feel like it was even created for them, which is great. So on your website, you need a tagline to describe your business. We'll talk more about business names and taglines later on, but for now, taglines are part of the copywriting process, as is the content on your About page. The About Us page is your chance to tell your personal story. But don't be confused. It's never really about you. It's about the consumer that you're trying to sell to. So you do tell your personal story, but you want to put yourself in the shoes of the single who's going to purchase your services. So you're selling to them, and you're finding a way to relate to them in your personal story. You relate to them in all kinds of ways. From a psychological perspective, there's like little things that can make you relate or not relate to them. For instance, take a look at that little box on this slide, classy text versus casual text. Now, you get a different feeling when you read each of these different types of fonts. Font is very important. To me, the casual text really does have more of a laid-back casual feel. So if I was working with like super sophisticated upscale professionals, maybe I would use the classy text more than the casual text. If I had a younger demographic, maybe I was working with people like in their 20s in San Diego at the beach, maybe I'd go for the casual text. This may seem like an extreme example, but it illustrates the point that different texts and different word choices and the way that you structure your copy has a very different feel. The tone of voice is so important. When you're talking to the more casual crowd, maybe the younger crowd, you can use more slang, you can swear a little bit even if that's part of your brand. But you would never ever do that if you're working with people who are in more of a professional setting, like the CEOs and those upscale women that they want to date. The tone will change depending on your audience. Keep that in mind. These are general rules of thumb, but you want to dare to be different, just like that little graphic image down there says. You want your brand to be strong, and you don't want it to just blend in with all the other matchmakers. You want it to be uniquely you. You'll do that through the copy, as I mentioned, and also the design. To focus on the design a little bit more. Now, we're not graphic designers, and we don't have to be, but we have to find a way to get web graphics on our site. It has to look pretty. It doesn't have to have all the bells and whistles, and you don't have to have the most expensive website ever designed to attract attention, but it has to visually appeal to your target market. And it may be more important for you to have an aesthetically pleasing website if you have a target market that really cares about these things. Like if they're really tech-savvy guys that are going to be your clients, then you better be up to date on everything in terms of banners and headers and having like the latest buttons maybe for your social media or the logo that you have. It has to really be high quality if that's your target market. You want to be on point. You don't want them to be distracted or think that you're using something outdated. You want them to focus on your message, but they will understand that message better if they can resonate with the design. So definitely think about that design. Do not get caught up in having like the perfect website or the perfect marketing material. Consider it a work in progress, but when you're starting out, you need to make it as good as you possibly can. How do you communicate your brand? First off, you're a person, obviously. Before you're a matchmaker, you are a person, and you have an image. So your brand is conveyed in everything from your hair, to your makeup, to your clothing, your accessories, your shoes, your overall presentation. Your brand is communicated through your body language, that nonverbal communication, your posture, the way you carry yourself, your micro expressions of your face, your eye rolls, all those little things. Your verbal communication as an individual, your writing, your text, your speech, your tone. Your personal brand is also conveyed by how you spend your money, whether it's in your business or your home or your neighborhood, your car, your office, the way that it's decorated, the material things that you have. Your online presence is a part of your personal brand. Maybe you're single and you're on an online dating profile. That's part of your brand. Your email signatures, your presence on social media sites, your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your Google+, your Instagram. Your career choices that you've made in the past are part of your personal brand. the industries that you were in, the jobs that you had taken or the jobs that you would never take. Your work habits are a part of your brand. How you spend your time outside of work is also a part of your brand. What are your hobbies? Where do you travel? What do you do in your leisure? Do you go to church? Do you worship? Do you volunteer? Are you part of a synagogue? Whatever. What is your brand there? And lastly, the people that you surround yourself with actually have to do with your brand. These can be the friends in your life, they say you are the company you keep, or these can be the business associates that you work with, the staff, the media opportunities that you pursue. Maybe you would be in one publication, but you would never do another publication. You might do one radio show, but you'd never do another radio show. All of these things combined with your attitudes, your worldviews, your philosophies on life, these combine to form and communicate your personal brand. So that's you, and then there's your business. And they do intersect, for sure. And to talk about the overlap and just to give you more of an idea how you communicate your brand, we have this graphic image here with brand positioning in the center circle on this slide, and this is actually taken to represent a doctor's office. So we're doing something a minute outside of the matchmaking industry. Maybe doctors will be some of your clients, so you'll further understand them better. Let's take a look at how a doctor's office can communicate their personal brand. Now there's very different experiences. Maybe going to an old, outdated doctor's office where everything is done on paper and there's like this grouchy receptionist and things kind of look like they haven't been changed in terms of decor since 1980s, as opposed to going to a very sophisticated and sleek, cutting-edge type of clinic in the city, perhaps, and having a very young and pleasant staff or middle-aged staff that looks like they're up on the trends and is well-dressed and well-spoken, and maybe you even get an electronic version of your medical records after, and maybe you pay through an app like Square or something like that. Very, very different experiences of how these two doctors' offices would communicate their brand to patients. They've made, on the left-hand side here, strategic decisions that have shaped the way they communicate their brand. Everything about it, from maybe the type of candy that they have on top of their desk when you go to the reception, to the entire patient experience. It's like curated. They think about these things. Where do they have the water cooler? What type of magazines do they have in their physical facilities? Do the magazines that are laying there appeal to their target market? What kind of customer service do they give? How does technology come into play with that customer service? How does the staff behave? Is it like more collaborative, where the patients are working with the doctors and the staff about their health? Or is it the kind of place that it's like, okay, the doctors are God and doctors are the experts and you don't question anything? Does the patient have time to ask the doctor questions? Or is that not encouraged? What is the follow-up after? Are there reviews? How did the patient even find this doctor's office? Did they go through a website like ZocDoc.com, for instance? By the way, ZocDoc is like the best thing ever in the U.S., and I find all of my doctors on there, and I read their reviews. That's ZocDoc.com. Doc is D-O-C. ZocDoc.com. You guys should check it out. Anyway, to get off of that tangent, if they do offer reviews, they may be more modern in their practice as opposed if they were not on a site like ZocDoc or Yelp. So that contributes to how they communicate their brand. What do they do in terms of their social networks? Is this doctor's office actually like in the media? Social media? Are they on Twitter sharing articles about the latest health concerns in the community? Or do they not even use social media at all? Do they do public relations? Do they have a publicist that's getting them on the radio and encouraging them to be out there in the community for health fairs and things like that? Or is that something they're not interested in? Do they do paid advertising? Do they not advertise at all? Is it just something that's been around for 50 years and it's all word of mouth referral? Maybe it's a family-owned business. I am talking so much about these different ways of experiencing a doctor's office, and I hope that is giving you the idea that there's very different ways to communicate a brand, and they absolutely have everything to do with the patient's experience. So I want you to think about that all and use that to shape how you will communicate your brand for the matchmaking industry. What makes a brand capture consumers' attention and stay memorable? That is the million-dollar question. And I have a million-dollar answer for you. So you guys are actually going to love this. I think that branding is like dating. And when you're dating, and you're dating a lot, and you're going on dates with different men or women every single night, they kind of just all blur together after a while. It's all a lot of bad first dates, right? And maybe they're not all bad, but some of them are boring, and people go on the date and they just kind of talk about themselves and what they do for work and how they have fun and where their family's from and where they grew up, and then they ask you those questions and it sort of feels like an interview, and you're just bored. And you're like, I don't really care about this stuff because I don't know this person yet. I have no emotional connection to this person, and if I'm not physically attracted, it's even worse. But that's a whole other story. So you're sitting on the date, and maybe you're having an okay enough time, but then you get home after the date, and you think about it, and you think about if you want to go out again with that person, and maybe your girlfriend calls you, and you tell her about it, and you tell your mom, and you write in your diary about the guy, and then before you know it, you don't even want to go out with him again. Like, it was just okay, the date. Maybe it was even good. Maybe after the date you thought, okay, I'll see him again if he asks me out. But now at this point, you've totally talked yourself out of it. With just a little bit of reflection and a time away from the date, you're just not crazy about it. You don't really like him. You're just not excited. You don't feel spark. So you're probably not going to go out again. He was not memorable enough. That was the case. And this is what happens with branding. People may read your website. They may read one of your blogs. And it may seem like all well and good. They may even get some value out of it. But if you don't have a strong voice, and you don't have a message that is different, that's unique, and there's nothing about you that really captures their attention, they are not even going to remember you. You are just going to blur in with the other sea of matchmakers and dating experts out there, and they're going to forget all about you. Because just like that guy on the date, you were not able to have an emotional connection with them. You did not inspire them. Your ideas were not fresh enough. Maybe they sounded the same as all of the other competitors that you have. Maybe you didn't teach them something new. You didn't fascinate them. You didn't entertain them. And you didn't inspire them. So they're not going to even think about hiring you. They're going to just click on to the next. Just like the girl is not going to answer the guy's calls or texts because he was just and she's looking for someone amazing. The guy that's going to be like the one that the fireworks are going to go off and like the choirs are going to sing. This is the experience that you want your consumers to have when they interact with you and your brand. Whether it's your website, your video, your social media, you want them to be like, wow, this is like my match. This is the matchmaker I should work with. Just like that girl wants to feel like, oh my God, this is the one, this is my husband. This is what you guys need to do. You need to keep this quote on the bottom of this slide here in mind, this Carl quote, whatever his last name is. Okay, they may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So your brand is not about you. It's not about your business. Your brand is about your ability to relate to the consumer. And that's what makes the brand memorable. You have to humanize your brand. I'm going to give you some examples of very memorable brands in the matchmaking industry. We will do that next. At this point in the module, I am going to present you with 4 different memorable brands in the matchmaking industry. These are very strong brands that have really created a name for themselves after several years. And you're going to get the screenshots of their websites. You can definitely go on Google afterward and look at their websites in more detail. It would be great to take a look at their websites and brands and think about the characteristics that they have that you would also like to have with your brand. And also think about if there's any characteristics of them that don't work for you, that are not uniquely you, that you wouldn't want to include in your branding. I'll start with Lisa Clampett's brand. Of course, Lisa is our founder, and as you know, she had a matchmaking company for over 15 years. It was called VIP Life, and she actually recently rebranded it to Lisa Clampett Matchmaking. Now, this is a very smart idea because Lisa is the brand, and she's so well connected in the matchmaking industry on a global level that it makes sense for her to use her face and her name and her image as the brand and have Lisa Clampett Matchmaking. Now, if you're not a celebrity or you don't have all the credentials and years of experience and exposure in the media as someone like Lisa Clampett, then maybe you don't want to use your name. But you may want to use it anyway and think about building and growing into that celebrity brand. The choice is, of course, up to you. From Lisa's website, you can see that it's a very clean, crisp image. It looks like it is sophisticated to me just by kind of looking at this. I know that about her brand. I know she works with upscale men and she has a high price point. But I see that. I see that it appeals to them. It's like black and white and gray. And that's something that I think you have to consider. You have to consider the colors, the language. Look at that tagline, where exceptional men go to meet extraordinary women. That's a strong brand. Next, we have the Vita Consultancy. And this was actually started by Rachel Vita McLinn, who is also a graduate at Matchmaking Institute. You can see the seal if you go to her website. And she has a very upscale brand as well. Her brand is international. If you go and look at the About page, you will see that her matchmakers are from all over the world, and they have interesting backgrounds. She works with clients internationally. She also works with very upscale men. It's exclusive matchmaking. You see that word exclusive there, centered. And you see the testimonials. You see there's someone from Zurich who's writing a testimonial. And there's this image of this happy couple. And like Lisa's, it's also very crisp and clean, and it's black and white, and people love life. That's a strong statement there too, right under her social media icons. So it's nice and clean and has that upscale feel. This is a brand to keep your eyes on. Okay, so next we have Patty Stanger's brand, and you all know Patty as the Millionaire Matchmaker, which makes a lot of sense that she's branded herself as the matchmaker to the millionaires because her company is called Millionaires Club. Now, Patty's branding is definitely very strong, like her personality on the show anyway, and from what I've seen in real life. And Patty also has branding that is different than the other previous matchmaking brands I showed you. Just by looking at it visually, I feel that her brand is bolder and more confident in a sense. She's saying, I make the perfect match. And she has her signature there. Like, she's the celebrity. It says Patty Stanger, Millionaire Matchmaker. She looks colorful. She's got her blue eyes, her long hair. Like, she looks like the celebrity. And she's very confident in that branding. Even the name of her blog is called Patty Knows. So that's saying to you, Patty knows. She knows what's best. She has that expertise. And she comes across that way with this bold and colorful branding and kind of putting herself on this big couch and putting herself out there as Patty Stanger of the Millionaires Club. Her branding is also catering to that upscale market. She has her logo for Millionaires Club with this kind of fancy calligraphy. She looks fancy. So if you want an upscale brand, if you want to work with millionaires, there's really a great value in taking a look at Patty's branding. Look at her social media sites, look at her packages, her services, watch her videos of how she was on TV, and you can learn a lot about branding yourself in that way, having a strong personality and brand and appealing to this kind of upscale market. All right, next we have Paul Brunson. And Paul does the Paul Brunson Agency. So that tells me right away that Paul Brunson is the star here. He really is. Now when you look at his website, you see it's very, very busy actually. There's a lot going on because Paul has a lot going on. But it's clear that he is much more than just a matchmaker. And that Oprah quote is there telling you that at the top, right next to his photo and his smiling headshot. I didn't even actually see that quote first. I don't know what I was first drawn to other than his name, which is bold, to make you realize that Paul is bold and he's the star. I probably saw the top with all the social media, and I saw how well connected he was, how he has 109K followers on Facebook, how he has 18K on Instagram. So I saw that, and then I see these little icons and logos here for the media outlets that he's been in. I see he's been on CNN and Essence and Today's Show, and I'm drawn to that little book, so I know he's a published author. And I see he does coaching too, and he does matchmaking, and he has events, and he has this Mentor Monday hashtag thing. So already, by having this website where there's so much going on, I'm getting the idea that Paul does a lot of stuff. And he really does. And he's spoken at our conference this past year in April, and he also did a tele-event about a week ago. So I've heard personally what he does with the social and what he does in different areas of his business. And I think that this website really communicates his brand as someone who's an expert within this matchmaking field, but also doing other things. And you can get that sense that he's very business-minded and has a lot going on in different areas if you follow him on Twitter or on Facebook. So if you're someone who sees yourself as expanding your brand, maybe if you want to do matchmaking, but you think you also may want to do dating and relationship coaching, or you also may want to be an author like Paul, or you want to do events or TV, Paul is a very good role model for you. He may be one of the best in the matchmaking industry in terms of being able to position himself as this expert celebrity brand in a very short amount of time. He hasn't had his matchmaking agency that long, but he's developed this following, and he's done it a lot on social media. And it all has to do with his personal branding. So definitely check out Paul's website when you get the chance. All right, my matchmaking students in training here. Now, we've talked so much about all these other big brands. I hope it's been inspiring you and helping you think more about how you're going to determine your brand. We'll talk about that for a few now. You are going to create a very unique brand that is true to you and your vision. So you have to know your vision. I want you to really think about what you want to accomplish with your business and your brand. You should write a mission statement out and write about who you want to target and what you want to accomplish and exactly how you see things going for your business. That's what's going to help you create your brand. And then you're going to make decisions based on your target market. Everything is going to come into play. When you're going to think about them, you're going to think about which colors to use, as we said, which font to use, which language, which articles, which social media sites you'll do, and which ones you won't do. It all matters. Every little decision matters when it comes to branding. I also want you to consider yourself, who you are, the self of the matchmaker. As we talked about before, you are a personal brand before you're a matchmaking brand. And it would be great if there was an overlap and a real congruency between your personal brand and your matchmaking brand. So the best way that you can figure out what your personal brand is to talk to people in your life who know you. Ask your family and friends for feedback. Ask your spouse. Ask people you've dated. Hey, this is the dating industry. Maybe even ask your parents. If your parents are around and they could write you a letter or speak to you about those personality traits that you've had since childhood, you know, those personality traits that really remain constants in your life, that would be very cool. You can even ask former employers or coworkers that you've worked with because they understand how you work in a business sense. And they may know some things about you that would help you figure out a good match for you and your core personality. in terms of branding. So consider yourself. Consider your values, your interests. Take an assessment of what's really important to you. What were the hobbies and activities that you've enjoyed since you were a kid? What were the subjects that you were most drawn to in school? What about your personality? Is your brand going to convey your personality? If you want to, you can take a personality test. Of course, there's the Myers-Briggs personality test that's really famous. And you can take that for free online. Just Google Myers-Briggs personality test. And I think there's 16 different types. And you can find out which one you are. There's also something new. It's called How You Fascinate. HowYouFascinate.com by Sally Hogshead. And she talks about different archetypes and different personality traits that can help you figure out how you fascinate people. So this is something that you pay for, but it's not very expensive, and it would be certainly very helpful for you to understand by taking this little test that they give how you fascinate people. Because there's something unique about you. And you have to figure that out. You have to figure out what your life story is. Like, why are you even drawn to this matchmaking industry? Did you have some bad relationships yourself? Did you go through a divorce and have to get back out on the dating scene? If so, that's all part of your life story. Maybe you just always loved love and you wanted to match people up and you got all your friends married. You're very social. You're a social butterfly. That's part of your life story. Maybe there is a role model that you have that is the person that you would like to be like, or someone who even has the relationship that you'd want, or the business that you'd want. Maybe you can figure out those things and kind of study that person. If you can know that person, pick his or her brain for the secrets of their branding success. Just really got to analyze things. You know, your patterns, your trends, everything that is uniquely you. And find that unique voice. And it's not like you have to be this really excellent writer either. Instead of journaling, I mean, I always recommend journaling. I love journaling. It can help you come to so many conclusions about yourself. But if that's not your style, you can sit down and make a list of like 10 words that describe you. You can ask your friends and family to help you come up with these words. So once you understand your personal brand, figure out how much of that personal brand you're going to bring into your matchmaking business. Are you going to be the brand like Patty Stanger, Lisa Clampett, and Paul Brunson, and even the Vita Consultancy? She used her name too. So, you know, they're putting a lot of themselves in the brand. Do you want to be the name and face of your brand, or do you not? Do you want to create a company that's a little bit different where you're not the brand of it? That is all food for thought, and I hope you guys are thinking a lot right now about how you determine your personal brand. How to monitor your brand. This is almost just as important as having a brand, because if you don't know how you're doing with your brand and how people are responding to it, your business is going to hurt. You're not going to know how to reach that target market, and you're not going to know how to make money, and you're not going to know how to make matches. So you need to collect, organize, and analyze some data about your brand. Now this sounds all technical and scientific, but I'm not really going to get into all that stuff. I'm going to give you the basics, and you'll learn more as you go along. To begin with, a great way to monitor your brand is to look at social media and look at your presence and look how many times people are sharing your content. If they're liking your content, that's a good thing. If they're commenting on it, even better. Are they retweeting you? Are they favoriting you? Are they really making an effort to include you in their social media? Are they mentioning you in posts? A great way to monitor your brand on social media is to look at your Clout score. This is like your report card. Clout is spelled K-L-O-U-T, and Clout is measured by accessing all of your social media accounts, including Instagram, LinkedIn, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, Blogger, all these different platforms, and it looks at how effective you are in reaching your audience. How many people are actually seeing your Facebook posts? Are they coming up in their news feed or not? So you want to have a high clout score. And this takes some time to build. I have a high clout score. I'm very proud of my clout score. And sometimes they send me free things and I tweet about them and it's really fun. So I love clout, and this is something you'll learn to enjoy as well. You also want to look at those Facebook analytics and see the posts. You can do this when you have a Facebook fan page, and you can see how many people actually clicked on your website that you put in a post or whatever the link is. You can see how many are reading it and sharing it and that kind of thing. And that's very helpful to know. So the idea is to really monitor the content, and it may be trial and error, but you have to kind of take notes and see if there's a rhyme to the reason of what people are actually sharing and liking. And you have to learn what content is effective and what content isn't, at what times, for which audiences, because every platform is different. I heard actually Paul Brunson said that Twitter is like the cocktail party of social media, whereas LinkedIn, it's like being in the boardroom and having that one meeting at 8 a.m. and it's just all business. So Twitter, for instance, you can be posting on like constantly, and it's okay. It's encouraged. But if you do that on LinkedIn, it's considered obnoxious. So we'll talk a lot more about social media later in the course, but for now, know that it's very important to monitor how you're doing on social media, if people are responding to you, if you're posting enough or not. Another area to monitor is actually your website itself, looking at those analytics, seeing how many people are going to your site. And you can hire people to do all this stuff if you can't do this stuff, but it's easier than you think. You'll learn. Whatever platform and website you're on, you'll learn. The other category that you have to really monitor is your reputation on the internet. So you are your brand a lot of times, and the best way to monitor your brand and to see what people are saying about you and your company on the internet, whether it's on the social media or whether it's on review sites or blogs, is to subscribe to Google Alerts and put in your name on Google Alerts, put in your company name, and you'll get an email delivered to your inbox every day if your name is mentioned. You want to have the best possible reputation online as you can, because it's very expensive to get rid of bad reviews. And people hire reputation management companies and they pay thousands of dollars to get those reviews to go to the bottom. A lot of times these companies write fake reviews and they post them up top so people don't see them. But the general public is on to this, so I think the best thing to do is not get those bad reviews. And if you carry your business with integrity, you will not. But when you have something that's out there and you're kind of a public figure, people are going to comment, and it's not always going to be positively. They might not agree with what you write in your blogs or guest blogs, and they may comment on these blogs. So you want to be able to see what they're writing about you, and you want to be able to respond. If, God forbid, they ever wrote something negative about you on a site like ripoffreport.com, for instance, is something that I've unfortunately seen some matchmakers on, and you want to be able to dispute whatever they write. It could be something on that site or on Yelp or whatever. It could be like one angry person that you couldn't match up that was from years ago. They write one bad thing and people are going to see that. So you need to be aware if people are seeing that, if you have bad reviews, so that you can come back and comment as the business owner and address this and not let it affect your reputation or your new sales or prospects that you get for your business. So those are very important ways that you can monitor your brand. You can also do surveys, surveymonkey.com for instance. You can start asking your followers and fans open-ended questions or structured multiple choice questions, basically asking them what they like, what they don't like, what suggestions they have, what resonates with them. And then you collect the data. You can make your own spreadsheets. You can use different software that would process and collect and organize that information, however you want to. Don't be intimidated by this stuff. You can monitor your brand in a more old school way with like a pen and paper, or you can do it with technology. It's just all about how you're keeping track of how your brand is effective on the internet. And lastly, I'd like to mention that it's not just the internet, it's also word of mouth. That's really important. So what are people saying about you? You want them to be saying good things. You want to be able to have glowing testimonials. Video testimonials are wonderful if you can get those on your website. But what are people saying about you offline too? What is the word on the street, so to speak? Do you have a good reputation as a matchmaker or a bad reputation? The idea is to have a good reputation. So definitely you want to know what's going on. You want to talk to people and find out the ways that you can monitor your brand. It's just all experimental, finding out new ways to measure your success or lack of success and kind of tweak things so they work in your favor. It's that time again, homework time, and you all are doing a great job with putting up your homework questions and responses on Facebook, so I really appreciate that, and I'd love for you to continue doing that. So on the next slide, we are going to have 3 questions for you to answer in our Facebook group. Let me give you my disclaimer. Number 1 might seem a little silly, but it's actually very important. I want to know, if you were an animal, which animal would you be and why? Number 2, how would your best friend describe you? What would he or she say? What are the words, like 3 words, what would they use? And number 3, how can you use these answers to create your personal brand? That's your homework assignment this week, and we look forward to reading your posts on Facebook. Okay, that's a wrap of Module 3, and I hope that you all have learned a lot about personal branding, more than you ever anticipated. If you have any questions, please contact me at rachel@matchmakinginstitute.com. Of course, I'll also answer questions and respond to your comments in our Facebook group, but if you have personal questions, the quickest way to get to me is through my email, rachel@matchmakinginstitute.com. Thanks, guys, and I look forward to recording for you next week and sharing that with you as soon as possible.